Hey, what up, homies? Today we're going to talk about a topic that may be a little touchy. Like, you may turn a video off right now, or you may in a second, okay? And here we go. I want to talk about a topic that has been hammered into the ground. If you don't believe me, you will in a second. I'm talking about forward-facing sonar. Now, we're not going to talk about the positive and the negative aspects of forward-facing. We're not going to talk about the rights or wrongs, or is it good or is it bad. We're not going to do all that. All right, there's plenty of videos and plenty of people who have already done that. Ben Milligan, okay, in a positive end, Ben Milligan, okay. He has done wonders and won so much money in so many tournaments with forward-facing sonar. Now, he'd be the one to go to if you want to know about how to use it, what to do, where to go. That's your guy. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Randy Blockett, a legend in himself. I actually met Randy years ago. I believe it was 2001, maybe 02 at Lake Eufaula, Alabama, not Oklahoma. And it was a Bassmaster Top 150. And guess what? He came in second place in a 150. Now, 99.99999% of people in the world have never came close to doing anything like what he did. He came in second in a field among stars. I'm talking Kevin Van Dam, Denny Brower, Davey Height, you name it. The roster, the field was so full of talent. I'm talking absolutely full of talent. And he came in second place. And guess what? He did it without using forward-facing sonar. As a matter of fact, everyone did not use forward-facing sonar because we did not have forward-facing at that time. And that is my point. That's my point. During that time, I was pretty heavy into tournament fishing, and probably about 3 years after the fact, I kind of leveled off and life happened, okay? Went to the military, did all kind of things, and fishing was on the back burner. So for a 20-year period, I was not relevant, okay, in fishing. I was not heavy. I was not deep into fishing, tournament fishing, whatnot, okay? I still kept up with it a little bit, but I was not in the water every day or multiple times a week, fishing and whatnot. So I took a 20-year break. Now, I got back into it a couple years back, and let me tell you, you would hope it's like riding a bike, but guess what? Not exactly like riding a bike, because things, they change, they evolve, and, certain things are better and certain things can be argued that they got worse. So, here we go. I get back into it, and I'm hearing this word called a chatterbait. I'm hearing a phrase, forward-facing sonar. Now, I go on for an hour. There's so many things that we did not have back in the day that we do have now. And some things are good, other things up for debate. Now, I mentioned Randy Blockett. Like I said, I met Randy years ago. Randy is very analytical. He's very intellectual, very ahead of his time. And I'm going to say this, and if you don't agree, I'll see you in the comments. Randy Blockett, very similar in my book to Rick Clunn. Now, if you know, you know. Okay, Rick Clunn is just a legend. He is, I don't even know how to put it into words. Absolute legend. Can do anything, anywhere. He was so ahead of his time, that even now, if he were to be in the water in a tournament, he's a legit threat. A legit threat. No matter where he's at in the country, he is a legit threat, even now in 2025. Randy Blockett is very similar. He is so intellectually into what is going on. He thinks outside the box. Really a box that most people don't even have. All right, he's able to look at things in a different perspective. And when he talks about forward-facing sonar, he talks about the negativity or the negative impacts it has in regard to the longevity of a fishery. Now, you may agree, you may disagree. I don't know. You may turn this whole video off. I don't know. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. But here's my point. Back in the day, we didn't have that. And we had to find ways to catch bass, whether it be largemouth or a spot, smallmouth, whatever, the old-fashioned way. So, like I said, 20-year break, and I got back into it. I went into a tournament at Lake Seminole. It was pre-spawn. Okay, it was pre-spawn, and guess what? In my mind, because of my experience years ago, I'm thinking pre-spawn. I'm thinking shallow water grass. I'm thinking hitting the bank, beating the bank, and fishing the typical thing like a jerkbait, a swimming jig, a spinnerbait, flipping a mat, okay, punching a mat. That is what is in my mind. So I get to this tournament, and guess what? As luck would have it, I have a very late boat number. And there's a lot of boats in the water, a lot of people in a tournament. Well, it's my time to go, and I blast off, and I go. I go down the lake. And guess what? I look to my left, which would be the bank, and I see no one. Now, Lake Seminole is 149,000 acres and some change. And I didn't see a soul. Now, I'm not saying I rode the entire 149,000 acres, but I did ride for about, a good while. And I never saw a soul. Not one person. And I'm not exaggerating to make a point on my video. I did not see a single person shallow. Not one. So I look to my right, which would be, logically, offshore. And guess what? Everyone is offshore. That's where they're at. And I'm thinking to myself, did I miss the memo? Like, what did I miss here? Like, the water temp is right where it should be. I'm where I should be, at least I think I should be here. And yet everyone and their mama is way offshore. And I notice they're all looking down like this. And guess what else? Let me show you. I had, actually, ironically, this exact setup. That's what I had right here. That's a black and blue 3/8 ounce swim and jig, 50-pound braid, 7'6" heavy action rod, and high speed reel. This is exactly to a T what I had in my hand. That's what I was fishing with. Everyone else who was offshore had a spinning rod. Now, I ain't knocking it. I ain't knocking a spinning rod. If that's your deal, go for it. I hope you catch every single one that bites. I hope they're all 10 pounds. But yet, as I looked offshore, everyone, without exception, everyone in the tournament, and even fishing for fun, was offshore. And I thought, what have I done? I prepared it, this entire time, this entire, tournament for shallow water grass. Realistically, in the let's say the 1 foot to 5 foot range. That's what I really keyed in on. That's what I prepared for. That's what I was going to do for the entire day. And then, as I'm going down the lake, a thought came to mind. Now, years ago, there was a bodybuilder. His name was Rich Piana. Now, I was really big into working out at a point in time. And during that, I would always watch, videos by Rich Piana. And he always had a little saying. You can always turn a negative into a positive. And that thought, that phrase, if you will, that quote, got into my head. In that very moment, as I'm driving down the lake, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I did miss something. Maybe I did miss the memo. But you know what? If this is being perceived for me as a negative, with them being offshore and I'm not, maybe, just maybe, I can turn that negative into a positive. And guess what? Although it is very so simplistic looking at it right now, after the fact, I thought to myself, you know what? I have all this shallow water, all the grass, all the laydowns, all the stuff in between to myself. I don't have to fish behind anybody. There's no one fishing behind me. I have it all to myself. It is 110% all mine. And guess what? When everybody else was offshore catching fish, they were. I'm not here to say they was not, or they wasn't. They were catching some good ones. But guess what? I was catching better ones. And I was able to catch a lot of bigger fish, quality fish, by beating the bank, by fishing shallow, not, say 1 to 5 foot range. And no one else, not a single person, not a soul, was even remotely nearby. So here's what I'm saying. Don't look at it from a positive and a negative aspect. Whether it's good or whether it's bad. That's up for debate at some other point in time. As I often say, for bigger minds than mine. Okay, for smarter people than me. Look at it from this perspective, if you will. How can you turn something that is perceived as a negative into a positive? In tournament fishing and bass fishing, if everyone is so consumed in their mind about the maybe realistic or maybe unrealistic expectations of forward-facing sonar, let them do it. Let them go deep. Let them shake that minnow out deep. Let them do it. But you focus on you, and you focus on what you can do. And if you play it right and you do it right, you'll find you have an entire playground at your disposal. You have an entire area that you can fish, that you can use, and yet no one is going to be there to fish behind you or beside you or to be a threat, maybe to take your spot when you leave, because no one's even looking at it. No one is even focused on that water. So try it next time. Think about that, and I'll see you in the comments.